Your boy Final Render called a lot of it. A lot of this information was theorized by me, and it was true. Not blowing my own horn or anything, but toot toot. How's it going, gang? It's a Final Render here. We just got done live streaming the Bethesda conference at QuakeCon 2018, where they discussed a lot of the information on the perks and character progression of Fallout 76, as well as answering a lot of community questions about the game, including things like how does the Anti-Greifing work in the PvP, how do the nukes work, and we learned an awful lot about Fallout 76 in the last hour, and it was fantastic to go ahead and get some real concrete answers about some of these things. Not only that, but we also got a couple new screenshots and stuff like that. So let's talk about what the main kind of point of the conference was, which was to show off the perks and kind of character progression of the game. And it's very, very interesting. It is entirely based on cards and perks, and the perks in this case are very similar to the traits that you would get in some of the older Fallout games, which are every time you level up, you go ahead and get a new ability. And these abilities are actually tied directly to your special points, i.e. your special points, your strength, your intelligence, your perception, etc. And every time you level up, you get one of these points in strength, intelligence, or perception. And these perk cards, or these trait cards as I kind of accidentally keep referring to them, they all have a cost associated with them. So, say, for example, some perks you might require 3 points in strength in order to get. So, if you invest 3 levels worth of points into strength, you can then use that perk card should you want to. And that's kind of how it's going to work. You'll go ahead and choose what perks you want to use depending on what kind of special points you have, or you can go ahead and actually plan what you want for the future. Because the way you get these kind of cards, which actually have all these new abilities on, is that every 5 levels you get given a pack which has a bunch of perks in there, and they show you what perks you can go ahead and use if you have the required skills. But there might be one, for example, which requires 7 in perception, for example. So you might say, I'm going to really put some points into perception so I can use that amazing card I just got, which I think is a very good way to do it. Not only does it give the player something to aim for, but it also means that you can go ahead and kind of plan what kind of character you're going to have in the future, not just plan what character you have right now. But not only that, there is also a really nice thing in there, meaning that you can go ahead and change these perks whenever you want to. You can go ahead and adjust and alter and even remove these anytime you want in the game, which is brilliant, because some things are brilliant for when you're in squads, and some things are brilliant when you're playing solo. For example, a lot of the perks which go into your charisma skill points, a lot of people are curious about that. What's the point of charisma? The charisma perks, they tend to help you in squads, so you can actually go ahead and share your perks with your squad, for example, if you have high charisma, which I think is a really nice way to go ahead and integrate everybody's perks together, so you can go ahead and make an amazing fighting team together. One player might have really high charisma, but also really high perks in the medic class, which I think will be a really nice way to go ahead and help your team. If you could be that player, someone else can be the guy who has the endurance to carry all the ammo and stuff like that and carry the big guns. So all the perk systems work solo and they work as a squad because you can change them anytime you want to. And there are some limits, of course. For example, the special point limit is 50. So once you have 50 special points, which is quite a lot if you think about it, you won't be able to get any more. So you kind of got to decide where do you want these points as you're playing. You've got to decide quite carefully. It might not be a good idea to go 10 on strength, 10 in agility, and 10 on perception, because that's 30 of your 50 points used, for example. So you kind of got to balance it out, but also kind of balance it out to what you actually want to do, not just try to think what's best all round. You want to specialize on something ideally, and I think that'll be a great way to go ahead and help your team, or just help yourself if you are specialized in certain things. And there are some other things which were discussed without some new footage about the mutation system. They kind of explain that when you are irradiated, you can sometimes inherit special abilities, and you can decide to keep them or get rid of them essentially down the line. And I presume some of them are good and some of them are bad, or they just have good traits but they also have a negative. For example, during the actual conference they gave the example that one guy got the ability to jump really high, but it took away some of his carry weight. So if it was me, I would want to get rid of that. I don't think I would want that perk. But then again, other ones you might really want. There might be some which say take down your maximum health, but make it so that you can run much faster to escape from combat. So, that kind of balances, you can escape quicker, but if you do get caught, then you're in a bit more trouble. Interesting idea, which I think is good. And they didn't actually explain if the mutations change your physical character, but there are some really cool things as well, which they talked about the actual character design. You can go ahead and change your character anytime you want. You can go ahead and change your face, you can change your skin, you can change your hair, you can even change your gender anytime you want during the game. So you are not stuck to the character which you decided to build at the very start of the game, which is really cool because it means not only can you change your skills anytime you want to, but you can essentially start again anytime you want to, which I think is really good with a new personality, a new character. Some people, for example, might want to roleplay as a raider, so therefore they design their character to be covered in scars and have burns on them and stuff like that. But some people might want to look like kind people, so they go ahead and change their appearance as such. So I think it's really good that they're giving you that ability to change it on the fly. And something really good about this conference, which I'm really happy about, is they went into great detail about how the PvP works and also how the Anti-Greifing mechanics work in the game. And I'm really happy to go ahead and finally share this confirmed news with you guys, because I'm happy to say your boy Final Render called a lot of it. A lot of this information was theorized by me, and it was true. Not blowing my own horn or anything, but toot. So, how the kind of PvP system works is, if you want to engage in PvP with someone, you simply start shooting them. And it does a tiny amount of damage to that person you're shooting at. A tiny amount of damage. And if they start shooting back at you, that is for kind of indication that the PvP battle is on. And then the guns start doing full damage to each other. Which I think is a good way to do it. It means that you're only engaging in combat with each other if you actually want to. And the actual reward for winning a PvP battle is that you get some caps, and the amount of caps you get is equivalent to the difference in levels you have. So if you beat someone who is much higher level than you, then you get a lot of caps. But if you beat someone who is lower level than you won't get as much. But there are some other things as well to make it really interesting. If you go ahead and lose the battle, and you want to have a second go, a round 2 so to speak, you can access the revenge system to where you fight again a second time. And then you get even more reward if you go ahead and beat them again or for the first time, etc. But there are obviously some things which people are worried about, saying, what if I don't want to go ahead and fight this person who is shooting at me? What if I don't want to do it? Well, one of the great things is that, one, you can just block people, they say. So if someone's bothering you, you can just literally block them, which is a great way to do it. But also, since when you shoot someone, it does do a tiny amount of damage, it is possible for someone who wants to engage in PvP to kill someone. But if that happens, if somebody keeps shooting someone who does not want to engage in PvP, they will then become wanted. Again, this is something I theorized. They get a wanted level on their head. They show up as a red star on the map and every player in the server can see them. But the person who is now wanted can't see anyone anymore. They can't see anyone on the map, but everyone who is a good guy can see them. And not only that, but if a good guy goes ahead and kills someone who has a wanted level, the caps which the good guy gets comes out of the wanted guy's pocket. So if you go ahead and grief people, everyone will want to kill you and you will actually lose something. If you win in a PvP battle, you get caps, but nobody's actually lost anything. It's just good fun, jolly combat. But if you go ahead and grief people, you actually lose items. This kind of makes some kind of cool gameplay in two ways. One, you can kind of treat it as like going ahead and spawning the tank in GTA 3 and seeing how long you can last while all the police are after you. You know, I'm going to go ahead and become wanted and see how long I can last as an outlaw, as a raider. I'm going to see how long I can go before they finally take me down. But you could also look at it as a way to basically say, there's almost no way to go ahead and survive going ahead and griefing people all the time. Eventually, I'll just have 0 caps all the time and it's not worth it. And that will stop the griefing. But I suppose also, it kind of acts as a third bit of gameplay as well. You could, in theory, roleplay as a bounty hunter. Because if you take the caps of people who you defeat who are wanted, then you actually have a profession at that stage. You, in theory, could become a bounty hunter and only hunt the people who are wanted. And not only that, but there is also an extra kind of currency in the game as well, we'll call it, and that is the junk. It's not literally a separate currency by the sound of it, but if you are defeated by someone in PvP, or you are a wanted guy and you get defeated, etc., you will drop a small amount of junk. This is things like your screws, your adhesives, your steel, your rubber, you know, the crafting resources, essentially. You'll drop a small amount of them. And it is up to you to where if you want to go ahead and get those items again. If you get killed, you drop those items, and it will show you on the map where those items are, and you got to go ahead and pick them up again if you want them. It's very much like Dark Souls in the sense that if you want to go ahead and get your stuff back, you need to go ahead and make the trek. But you might just go back and say, I really can't be bothered to go ahead and get those, or it's too risky to go ahead and get that stuff. I'll just have to grind it out a little bit again. And that, I think, is really, really cool. As I said, it's like Dark Souls. You can go ahead and get that stuff again if you want to take the risk, or you can just lose it. It's entirely up to you. So, I think the PvP, it definitely encourages the good kind of PvP. But if you don't want to do it, then there is actually no punishment for not being involved in it. Not only that, but as I said, you can block people if you really don't want to go ahead and have them bother you. And also, they have a passive mode in the game. Again, I kind of theorized this, but it was a little bit different. They made it so that you can select a passive mode to where your bullets do not harm other people. So if you accidentally shoot someone, it won't then start a PvP battle with them. Does that make sense? If you really don't want to do PvP, you don't want to accidentally shoot someone and then they think you want to go ahead and have a fight if you really don't want to do that. So that's a good way to go ahead and make it so that the PvP is entirely optional. It would almost be strange if you engaged in a PvP battle and both sides didn't want to. You know what I'm saying? So I think that is a very, very cool indeed. And I'm just really happy we finally got some confirmed information on that. I think it is really, really good. And again, you know, talking about some of the other systems in play, they kind of hinted at the fact that fast travel into certain locations might cost a certain amount of caps, but some locations are free. So like your camp is probably free. They said fast travel into the vault is free, but maybe if you want to fast travel a really long distance, then it will actually cost you some caps. Again, that's another reason you don't want to be wanted all the time, because eventually you won't be able to fast travel because you'll have no caps. So that's also an interesting thing which they mentioned, and the fact that when you actually go ahead and engage in the PvP, you really need to go ahead and be sure that you are ready for a battle, because it is really going to change the game for you if you become wanted. It's going to be a very different game. It's going to be very similar to Red Dead Redemption in that stage, where if you are wanted, it's suddenly a very different game. So, thank you very much for watching this kind of very quick kind of roundup of some of the news we got on the Bethesda Q&A stuff. They briefly talked about some other things, like it is possible to destroy some of the walls in people's camps and stuff like that. You can't go ahead and loot people's containers in camps. They confirmed that as well. So if you store stuff in your camp, don't worry about it. That is always going to be safe. And I think it's going to be really, really good to go ahead and see the game fully done and fully released. If you want kind of a more in-depth form of information about everything I just talked about, because obviously I'm trying to get this video out pretty quickly, you can go ahead and rewatch the entire conference using the link at the end of the video. And thank you very much for watching. This has been the final render, and you've been the audience. If you enjoyed any part of this video, please make sure you leave a like and a thumbs up. Remember to check out all the cool Patreon people in the description below, and I'll see you in the next video. I'm very happy about all this news about Fallout 76, and I'll see you around. This has been the final render, and you've been the audience. Until next time, farewell.